Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today with a very different kind of video. This time we're not going to do a separate figure review like I usually do. In this case, we're going to be taking a look at my collection of Pixar, Disney and Pixar's Mattel Cars Diecast line. Now, I've been collecting these for a long time, years before I started this channel. And because of Disney's 100th anniversary, and since this month will be dedicated to Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and everything related to Disney for its 100th anniversary, I thought it'd be cool if we took a look at my Cars Diecast collection. Now, this might be the only, video of this nature I do of showing everything I have of a certain line. And you'll notice some of these are very used because some of these, the first one, like the oldest ones I've actually played with when they first came out, and others, I'm not sure how they got those scratches on the diecast and paint, but in this case, we're going to start off with the first Cars movie, then we'll jump to Cars 2, then Cars 3, and end things with stuff like shorts. And so, let's begin. So, starting off here with the main character himself, Lightning McQueen, all I can say is that this is a really old diecast. I believe it's the original 2006 one because these diecasts have been made since 2006 when the first Cars movie came out, so yes, it's a very old line, and I don't remember where I got them. I believe I got them secondhand. I remember that half of my collection comes directly from the store, like when they came out, and the other half is secondhand from places like swap meets and thrift stores. In this case, I believe I got it off a swap meet, not entirely sure, but for the time, this is a really well-detailed diecast. Now, sure, you'll definitely notice the chipped paint around him, because again, I played with a couple of these back then. But I really like the look of this Lightning McQueen. Like, zooming into some of the details, I'm so impressed now with the way that they were able to add all of those little stickers. Like, it's really impressive. Especially for a diecast car, which was meant to be played with. I'm surprised they were able to give so much detail. The expression looks good. The Rusty's logo is nice. The 95, as a reference to the year Toy Story came on Pixar's theatrical run started in 1995. And the Lightyear wheels, of course. Overall, this is one of my personal favorites. Now, he's very used, but in that regard, he kind of has a bit of a story. And so, that's kind of it here for Lightning McQueen. Next up, here we have Sally. Now, in this case, I skipped Mater, because we're going to be taking a look at him later on in the Cars 2 section. But Sally was one of the recent ones I got. Like, I remember when I got her off the box. And you'll notice that in comparison to Lightning McQueen, she looks a lot newer because she is newer. I got her from out of the box, and ever since, by the time I got this car, by like 2017, around then, I started to be a lot more careful. Like, the car still had slight chippings in some parts, but I mainly took better care of them. Now I started to see them as a collection and not as toys to play with. And that's sort of how I began collecting like this, of now that I kept my toys as a collection, not to play with. And overall, this is a really nice looking Sally. Now, she's very neat and basic. She does not have the tattoo on her back like we saw in the movie. But apart from that, she looks great. Now, let's move on to some other important Radiator Spring characters. Luigi and Guido. Now, these are some of my favorite diecasts in my collection because of how small they are, because these are some of my favorite Cars characters, and sure, you'll notice that the paint has started to scrape off of both of them, especially the roof, but these are really cool to me. Now, they were sold together, but the price of one, so I guess it's because the size of both of them just can't really be sold separately, so it's a great bundle. And I don't really think there's a way to get Luigi and Guido separate, but they're a great duo, and I think these are really good diecasts. But now let's move on to some other classic Radiator Spring characters. Here we have Sarge. This is another one of my favorites in my collection. Yes, you'll notice some paint falling off the roof, but in this case, I think it kind of gives him a weather, like, battle look, damaged look. And this is another one of my favorites. I love Sarge in the movies. Him and Fillmore are some of my favorites. And I'm just noticing that the license plate actually has WW2, of course, as a reference to World War II. So maybe that in the Cars universe there was also World War II. Like, there was an army, so that's why Sarge is a military vehicle. But he's one of my favorite characters. I just love military Jeeps. And here we have Sheriff, another one of my favorites. I love the fact that he's a vintage-looking police car. And I just love the joke when he's chasing down Lightning McQueen in the first movie, and McQueen thinks that he's literally blasting him, like he's throwing bullets, but turns out that it's just the sheriff's old escape tube, I believe we could call it, escape pipe. And so, a really good character and a good interpretation in diecast form. And this is one that you'll definitely notice the age, but it's one of my favorites. That being Doug Hudson himself, the fabulous Hudson Hornet. Only had a big voice role in the first Cars movie because the actor who played him tragically passed away. And he used pre-recorded lines for a appearance as a flashback in Cars 3. Now, you'll definitely notice that this is probably one of the diecasts with the worstly kept paint job, and that's why I've also been thinking of getting a new Hudson Hornet, because this is one that already, by the time I got it, was pre-used. So don't think that the paint fell off ever since I had him. Before I had him, he already had the paint like that, so I'll probably get a newer one, but I'm still gonna keep. And for now, the last Radiator Springs character we're gonna see right now is Ramon. I really like the look of this guy. Like, he's a lowrider. I really wish there was a way to do, like, the suspension, but oh well. It's really nicely painted, and it's another one I tried to keep as good condition as possible. You can see some paint has scratched, but he's one of my favorites. I really love the character Ramon in the movie, so I really like this diecast. Now, I do have Fillmore, of course. I again mentioned I do have Mater. I had what was her name? Lizzie. Let's see, the old lady, like the super vintage car. But that one I sadly no longer have, and I never had Flo. Not sure how I never had Flo, but I have been thinking of looking for one. I've seen them constantly at Target, so maybe I'll try to look for both of them. But that's kind of it right now for the Radiator Spring characters. Now let's take a look at some Piston Cup characters. Here we have Chick Hicks. Of course, very infamous character who only appeared first at Cars 1, then doing a surprise cameo in Cars 3. Turns out that he now has his own TV show where he roasts Lightning McQueen, of course, thinking that he won the Piston Cup. I never liked Chick Hicks as a character, but of course, he was an important character to have in a Cars 1 collection. And I am super impressed now by the amount of prints on the stickers. Like, he has so many of these. Like, sure, you'll notice the paint has been stripping off. He also had Lightyear wheels, but check out the amount of stickers he has. It is super impressive. Like, I really want to know how this printing technology worked. Now, this is not, from what I remember, this is not a 2006 car. He's slightly more recent, don't remember specifically when, but he's not from 2006. But overall, of course, very necessary for a Cars 1 display, and of course a very hate-worthy character. Next up we have the King. This is another one of my favorites. I love the look of the vehicle, and this is also one of those when I search and notice that some of the paint started to scrape off. I practically started treating him like he was made of gold. Like, trying to make sure that no new paint is missing. I really love the car. I still think that the scene where Chick Hicks makes him crash and Lightning McQueen decides to, instead of winning the race, go out and help the King. It's just a touching scene that to me really made Lightning McQueen have great character development. Now, in this case, I'm just going to do a quick size comparison between the three, of course, the three main Piston Cup characters. So here we have the King, Lightning McQueen, and Chick Hicks. This is the only size comparison I'm going to do in order to keep things quick. But overall, these are a great trio. I remember when I watched the original Cars movie, I loved the racing scenes. And I think it's so cool to have this trio of racers, of course, the three biggest, most important, fastest cars that the Piston Cup had ever seen. But we're not just yet done with Dynaco. Here we have this forklift character who worked at the pit stop of Dynaco. Now, I really like this little guy. Now, he came with an accessory, which I stored and don't remember where. Someday I'll probably find it, of a wheel, of a stack of 2 wheels that he could actually carry. It also comes with this, I guess it would be toolbox. It's been nicely designed, and like the Dynaco logo, of course, an inter-universe brand, because it's not just one of the racing, I guess, brands in the races. Dynaco is also in Toy Story, let's not forget. That's a fuel company. So it's really cool to see this kind of inter-franchise connections with Dynaco. And that's kind of it for this little guy. Now, personally, I don't collect the pit stop characters, just because I think that they're very basic. Like, maybe I'd like to have some of the Chick Hicks ones, with the fake mustaches. But apart from that, I don't collect that many. I just thought this one was cool because of the accessories. And here we have this character who I made research called Scruggs, something like that. This is one of the racers from the original first Cars movie, of course, with the veterans who at some point retires in Cars 3. And this is a much more recent purchase. I remember I got it off of swap meet about 3, at most 4 years old. It was about the time I started to slow down in purchasing die-cast cars. And I really like this guy. He's from the Leak-less brand. Again, really impressed by the amount of stickers he has. And overall, it's nice. Now, I don't collect many of the other racers from the Piston Cup, but maybe I might get a couple more. But let's take a look at the only other one I have. This is one of the oldest ones I have, and one of the most nostalgic. That being this character called Nitroate. Now, this one's interesting to me because right now, just now at the time of recording this, I actually learned this character has a name. Because in the movie, they don't even mention the names of the other racers, and you can definitely notice up the scuffed paint that this one was played with. But something interesting to me is that the brand he races for Nitroate, so they didn't really bother giving him a name. I don't know if the people at Pixar gave him a name, and it's just Mattel, by making Diecast toy, that they did not give him a name. Who knows, but interesting. He's one of the most nostalgic to me, but that's kind of it for him. And here's a character who I don't remember the name, but he was basically the one that moved the checker flag in the races. Now, this is a character who I don't really know why I specifically bought, because you can see the weathering that he was played with, but I don't really know why I had him. Like, I remember that this guy is actually broke, because he had here the piece where you could actually attach the flag. I don't remember if he came with the flag. I remember you could attach it. Now, I lost that piece. It's been like more than 6 years since I've had this guy. And he's an interesting, I guess, background. I wouldn't say background filler. I'd say like an important, I guess, use character, because he's only there to, wave the flag. But he's a noticeable character, so I guess it's nice to have him. And here we have this character who I researched. It's called Artie. I think he was one of the announcers in the first Cars movie. Maybe I'm wrong. I think he was in the first movie. The only reason why I like him is just because of the weird shape of the car. But there's not really much to say about this guy. And here we have this character named Brent Mustenberger. I'm pretty sure it's a reference to Mustang. But this is one of my favorites for some reason. This is just one I've had so much nostalgia for. And at the same time, he's, to me, one of the most recognizable side characters because of how he was one of the announcers. Like, I know there's another one who I forgot his name. He had like a more sports car looking color scheme. I remember like he was the one that talked the most during the commentaries on the races. But I don't know, I just really like this guy. I also really like here how he has this print. Overall, he's a nice diecast. I also really like the way that they attach the headphones. Now, I've been really worried that these might break someday, so that's also why I tried to take as good care of him as I could, in order just not just to lose paint, also to make sure that those didn't break off. And here we have this reporter who, you know, was one of the many cars with the microphones and cameras that supposedly blinded Lightning McQueen and later on Chick Hicks when he became popular. This is actually maybe the most recent one I've gotten. It's probably quite obvious because of the clean paint that it looked like she was taken straight out of the box. I found this one at a thrift store for like $1, and I thought she looked cool. Of course, she's not really that important of a character, but I thought it'd be cool to have a reporter, because I always remember those scenes with the reporters, and so I thought it'd be cool to get this one from that thrift store. And occasionally I found 1 or 2 other of these cars at thrift stores, and that's kind of the only other way they've been buying these, because they no longer buy them off stores. But that's kind of it for this character. Now for some other, I guess we could say, miscellaneous characters. Here we have 2 of the tuned race cars. Now, this guy is DJ, and I don't remember the name of this guy. The only thing I remember is that every time that he sneezed, he would literally throw flames. And I really like these. Like, I remember that from a lot of Cars 1's marketing, these guys were a part of it. Like, I remember they were in a bunch of toys, I guess because they thought they were super cool looking cars. And personally, my favorite is DJ because of the detail behind him. Now, he had the sort of blue exhaust pipes here, but they snapped and I don't remember where I left them. But apart from that, these are really cool. Now, I think they were like 4 of these in the movie. I remember there was like a red one and one that felt like a huge like fin piece. I remember like that was my favorite one of these tuned characters, but sadly I never had those, and maybe someday I'll look for them. I don't know. They're not really, I don't really hunt for these diecasts now, but that's kind of it for these tuned cars. It's basically the ones that caused the story to happen. You know, when they try to pull jokes on Mac, who was basically falling asleep on the road, and that causes Lightning McQueen to, you know, accidentally be abandoned by Mac, and for him to end up in Radiator Springs. So in a way, these guys ended up making the movie happen. And here we have my least favorite diecast in my entire collection, that being this Radiator Springs Lightning McQueen, you know, when he's fully, you know, accepted by the people of Radiator Springs, or I should say the cars of Radiator Springs, and how he starts to grow fond of them. I really like how he looks in the movie, but of course I don't like this diecast because of all the paint that he's missing. Another one I've always had like this. Like, this is one that has just been getting worse throughout the years. Like, I don't even know how I got him, and if I got him, I don't know why the paint job is so splotched. But I like how he kind of represents everything that the people, the characters of Radiator Springs are, where he drank some of the alternative fuel that Fillmore had. He's wearing the white tires that Luigi and Guido gave him. He has this metallic paint job done by Ramon. Overall, you know, so remember that Lissy stuck a bunch of like stickers on his back. I'm not sure why they skipped that detail on this diecast, but maybe someday I'll look for a newer one. But that's kind of for this guy. And for the last, I guess, smaller character diecast, here we have this other Lightning McQueen, which is kind of my favorite, like, Cars 1/Cars 2 design for Lightning McQueen. Like, yeah, some of the paint has also been falling, but I really love the metallic shade of red they used on this guy. He looks so awesome, and on my other number 1 favorite Lightning McQueen in my collection also has the shiny paint job. I think it looks fantastic. I love that he's sort of a blend of his old life, like with the Rusty's logo in the 95, and at the same time keeping stuff like the paint job that Ramon gave him. So, to me, it's just a great culmination of who Lightning McQueen became at the end of the first Cars movie. But now let's stop looking at some cars and look at the truck himself. That being Mac. Now, okay, this is not like the biggest Mac in my collection. You'll see that in a moment, but I just want to showcase the small Mac, which I have. This guy is, of course, not in scale, because Mac is, of course, supposed to be a lot larger. And then you'll probably notice that he's missing a piece of, here, he's definitely missing a piece of the smokestack. But this is a solid, small-looking Mac. Mac is one of my favorite characters. And he also has this trailer, which of course is not accurate to the movie. Of course, the trailer he used in the film was much more Lightning McQueen centric. We'll take a look at that in a moment. I'm not even sure if this is meant to go alongside this Mac. I just remember I had Mac growing up, then sometime after getting Mac I found this trailer and I realized, oh, it fits, so I started to use it. I really like this kickstand that you can lift like so and he can roll nicely. He also has this door, of course, with this Lightning McQueen sticker. And this is one I play with a lot. So I basically pulled this piece down, and what I did, and even my little cousin did, is that we basically took the cars, put them like so, lift the piece back up, and that's how the cars were able to go on top. I had a lot of fun memories with this Mac. He fits around 6 cars, so he's pretty useful as well. I actually had 6 of these displayed inside this Mac before I started this video, and I'll most likely add some race cars inside here, but that's kind of it for the small Mac. Here we have my large Mac. Now, yes, this piece has popped off. I had to glue that soon, but this is like my favorite Cars thing I own. He's so large, he's so perfect. Like, to me, this is like the perfect Mac. Like, here we have Lightning McQueen compared, like, sure, maybe he's a bit too large, but I don't care. He looks awesome. He's nicely detailed. Of course, you can see that the white Rust-eze logo has started to yellow, which is unfortunate. The paint has also started to scrape off. And here, the trailer hinge, you can see actually come with a trailer, which is too big that I'm going to show it separately right now. And here it is. Yes, this part has started to fall, and I'll definitely have to glue that later on, but I love this trailer, and it's not just a trailer, it's also a storage. I remember I took these cars a lot in this Mac, and let's just open it. I'm really excited to showcase this to everyone. Check that out. It has around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 9 spaces to hold cars. And this is actually where I keep my most prized cars. Like the ones I want, I keep the most. Like the ones that I love the most, and the ones I want to preserve as long as possible. I keep them inside Mac so they don't catch dust. And he doesn't just open this door, the other side opens, but we're not going to take a look at that right now. This door also opens, just like in the movie. Now, of course, in the movie, Mac was very customized inside. Like, he had like a screen, he had a lot of Lightning McQueen related stuff. Like, I remember how McQueen had like a ton of his own merchandise in here, but this one is made to store and move around cars, and I think it's awesome. Now, let's just attach Mac to it. And here's Mac attached to his trailer. He looks so awesome. Now, this is actually the way he keep him displayed all the way up on my shelf in order to make sure that he's, well, preserved. Like, sure, he catches a lot of dust, but overall, he's just fantastic. But now that we took a look at Mac, I think it's time to jump into Cars 2 and take a look at some of the diecasts that I have on my collection based on Cars 2. As you can see, Mater was not in the first part. Next up will be Tow Mater, starting off the Cars 2 segment, but here's the thing. This video, by the time I'm finishing off, is way too long. Like, I'm looking at the runtime, like, I can't do this entire collection in one single video, so here's what we're gonna do. Part 1 will end right here, showcasing my collection of the Cars 1 characters I have, and I'll do a separate video with the same kind of editing and same kind of style this video is at. So expect that kind of continuity in the way that this is edited, but we're going to take a look at Cars 2 and then Cars 3 later on. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you think about these car diecasts, and that's it. Thanks for watching.